Closeness test. Closeness test. Closeness test. Hello, everybody. I am Sydney Winston. I am Sydney Winston. Yeah, big deal. Okay. Let me just let's see. Today we're going to review a video. But before we review the video, I need to cover a couple of things that have been brought to my attention with regard to the video. Well, not so much the video, but with regard to the personality, the character who produced the video, whose name is Christian Hillbilly, an online friend of mine. Actually, he's a friend of mine. Now, I've made about, you know, I've created a few videos and I've put them online, and it seems that like 125% of them are about Christian Hillbilly. It's been brought to my attention, that is. So one of my online friends private messaged me and said, this is Christian Hillbilly. He's an evolution enthusiast because he's always talking about it, really interested in it, but doesn't know anything about it. But we'll have to we'll educate him. But anyway, one of my online friends says to me, so she says, what is your obsession with Christian Hillbilly? And I'm thinking, yeah, am I obsessed? Is there an obsession on my part with Christian Hillbilly? Is there? Maybe there is. You decide, okay? By the end of this, show, I think it's only fair. Another thing that happened this morning, I set up the whole, I'm going to go and review the video, and I sent out the links to people in my, in my circles and stuff. And Christian Hillbilly being one of them, he's my friend, he came in, and he said to me? He said to me, Sydney, he says, I'm starting to feel that you are stalking me. Stalking me. Stalking me, he says. Well, I tell you what. You decide. You guys decide whether he is or whether he isn't, or whether I'm stalking him or whether I'm not stalking him. Now, to put this video that I'm going to review in context, a couple of days ago, today's the 2nd of August, so possibly July 31 or whenever it was he made the video, in a hangout, Christian Hillbilly said to me, have I watched his latest video about me? And I said no, but I will. And I haven't, and now we're going to watch it today. So to my dear friend who messaged me about obsession, in a way, I kind of obsessed simply for a couple of reasons. Number one, this Christian Hillbilly is so close-minded and so dogmatic about irrational stuff that he knows is not true. So, you know, he's that, to me, not only it doesn't obsess me, that it fascinates me. You know, how can anybody with a you know, within the species that I'm part of have a brain that is so backwardly wired? Weird. And the second thing is that it's about me. You know, he makes claims. He's made claims about. Oh, well, I just want to show you something that he's sent me. Apparently, I'm going to hell when I die, right? So this is what. Let me just go find it here because it's quite cool. I'm looking forward to when I die. You know, when I die, this is what it's going to look like. Now, Chris is Christian Hillbilly. He sent me a picture of my new home, which is hell. I guess it's hell. Burning lake of fire, body of water, flames. What else could it be? My new home. Christian Hillbilly. He's an evangelist. Repent, go to hell, whatever. You know, he's so. All right. So if I'm obsessed with Hillbilly, again, these are the kinds of things that he sends to me, which I'm not sure he sends to anybody else. If he does, then you know, by all means, let me know. And another thing about a Christian Hillbilly is that he makes crazy statements. Crazy statements. Here's one of them. If I can find it. Oh, shit. Oh, there we go. All right, here's another one. Well, it's kind of small. Let me just make it bigger. All right. So this is Christian Hillbilly. He makes these types of claims. Okay. Saying that science kills atheism. All right. I gotta respond. I gotta respond because you know, he's lying. He's basically lying. So obsessed. Okay. Maybe I'm obsessed. Maybe. But you know, the fodder's right there. The fodder's there for me to be obsessed with. Now, in order to be fair, very fair, I'm going to provide Christian Hillbilly's what do you believe? There you go. So now, if you have any questions, you can call Christian Hillbilly directly at this number there. I'm going to leave that up there so you there you go, so you guys can read it, take down the number, make a note to call him. Please, everybody who watches this, do call Christian Hillbilly at 502-509-7544. Let me repeat, 502-509-7544. Right. Let me bring this down. Let me just fade this out for a moment. Okay, so let me get back. Hi, there you go. So with that in mind, with all that information, I will let you decide at the end of this whether I have an obsession with Christian Hillbilly, or, according to Christian Hillbilly's latest accusation, am I stalking Christian Hillbilly? So I'm looking forward to seeing this video and to review it. Oh shit! I have a problem with this mic. I know it's very soft if I'm not right next to it, and I get all excited and then I don't talk next to the mic. But I'm ready to review the video. Let me see if I can cue it up. All right, there it is. I'm ready to rock and roll it.
Just to put it out there, we are going to have a good discussion. We will be polite to one another, and we will not interrupt. because that's just the way it's going to go. Now, tried a little something yesterday, but didn't work out too well because people tend to get upset when they make a claim they can't back it up, and I stop them right in their tracks. So I'm going to give everybody enough time to make their point, but once it's your time to talk, let's keep our responses back to 2 to 3 minutes max. That way everybody's got a chance to talk, and everybody should have their opportunity to talk, and we'll all get along nicely. What do you think about that?
I'm all in.
I think you might have contradicted yourself.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Sorry?
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started looking at the Cambrian explosion. And first, we're going to get in here. All right.
Can I be heard, or did
explosion?
No.
Science kills atheism. That's my little touch to that.
Science kills atheism.
Can I not be heard?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, well, you just ignored something I said, so I wasn't sure.
Well, what was it you said?
That you contradicted yourself. Or seemed to.
Well, let's just put it this way. We're all going to have a good conversation. I'm going to give you guys time to make your point. I'm going to make my point. We will be civil to one another. I don't care if you're polite or not. I don't care if you just don't call people names. Just keep it sort of
I didn't call you names. I said you contradicted yourself.
Whatever. Okay, can we get going? Are you familiar with what the Cambrian explosion is?
3 minutes.
Hello?
You said, can we get started? I answered your question. I said, yeah, I'll start his timer for 3 minutes.
No. No. When we get to the conversation part of it, we'll each get 2 minutes. Since this is my hangout,
2 minutes. Okay,
I'm
so
going to go through this presentation, and then once we go through this presentation, are all up to speed on the data, then we can have the conversation.
Okay, so you're allowed to talk for more than 2 minutes, but we're not. Okay.
Seth, you don't have to be in here at all.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just making sure the rules are clear.
Explosion, Seth. Here we go.
Okay, I just want to quickly intervene here and say something that I've like I said, I haven't watched this video before, but what I think he's going to do is I think he's going to motor mouth his way through word salad, not make any sense whatsoever, talk a mile a minute and not let anybody debate what he says. That's what I'm predicting. Let's see if I'm right.
So, I'm
okay,
going
here we
to
go.
do this. You can either be quiet or you can be out of here. Your choice.
I said, here we go.
So,
I'm waiting.
The Cambrian explosion. That is the time in our geologic history when it seems like all of the different groups, the life forms of group, the phyla of life, rather, and I've not had enough coffee, so I may be contradicting myself on some of these things I'm saying, so I do apologize, but let me go ahead and be completely honest. There was nothing prior to the Cambrian that would have any indicator or be any type of precursor to the things that we see in the Cambrian. Very small bacteria in the Precambrian. And then there's the Cambrian, when all these different life forms suddenly come into existence. Oops, I'm on the wrong page here. Here we go. And that's way down here at the bottom of this slide. First fish. First lots of things right there. What do we see when we look at the data? Well, instead of showing a gradual bottom-up origin of the basic body plans where smaller scale diversification or speciation precedes the advent of large-scale morphological disparity, disparity precedes diversity. Ooh, now here comes some really technical terms for you guys. Disparity precedes diversity, and that's exactly the opposite of what the neo-Darwinian belief system says. Instead, the fossil record shows a top-down pattern in which morphological disparity between many separate body plans emerges suddenly and prior to the occurrence of species level or higher diversification on those basic themes. Basically, what it's trying to say, the long and the short of it, abiogenesis does not work. You have to have life to get living matter. Life only comes from life. So when you look at the evidence, wrong slide, when you look at the evidence, the common ancestor theory, this is what Darwin has always said, common ancestor should be one common ancestor, and all the different groups would come, or phyla would come from that single common ancestor. But what do we see? No. The data from the Cambrian explosion shows all the different phyla groups, most of them, already formed and ready to go, right from the get-go. This is what one of the phylogenetic tree of life that I downloaded looks like, where it all comes down to a single common ancestor down here at the bottom. But this is what we really see. There is no common ancestor. No common ancestor for all of these different groups. Oopsie. There we go. When you're looking at the Cambrian explosion, something that is extraordinary and perplexing. The first appearance of most animal body types. We're talking about skeletal systems. Sudden appearance without evidence of ancestry. There's no precursor in the fossil record, none whatsoever. Quantum biological information. And we've gone from simple bacteria to all these different systems, including reproduction, all right there in that single quantum leap of life and persistent morphological isolation. That is, you don't see these things changing from one kind to another. It never happens. This is a different example of the different body styles that came into existence in the Cambrian. Again, all the different things that we see, not just the fact that we have life coming into existence almost instantaneously, geologically speaking, but we also have all these different systems that come into play. We're talking compound eyes. So we've got a nervous system, with skeletal system, digestive system, reproductive systems, all in this single flash of life. Once again, we see all these different types of the life forms that were started in the early Cambrian. What was before that? Bedrock, bacteria, nothing.
Okay, I just want to take a break here and just inform you that Christian Hillbilly is open for questions. If you have any questions on what you've seen in his videos, you be sure to call him now, anytime. His number is 502-509-7544. You can also reach Hillbilly at www.christianhillbilly.com. But the best way to get hold of him immediately for your needs, your immediate needs, with a pleasant voice, is to call Christian Hillbilly at 502-509-7544. Please call now. No, wait till you've seen this video, then call. A new plea will follow.
Is this?
Charles Darwin, constant will, if my theory be true, it is indisputable that before the lowest Silurian stratum was deposited, long periods elapsed, as long as, or possibly far longer than, the whole interval. Now, basically what he's saying is, this the strata should be filled with all these different transitional forms, filled with all the evidence that points to this single common ancestor. Yet, even to this day, we do not see that. Darwin's theory, once again, common ancestor, all the different things coming from the common ancestor. What do we see? We see the actual fossil evidence from the Cambrian explosion that all the different phyla groups that we see formed suddenly. That basically just states again that even in 1974, this gentleman was talking about how there's nothing. Pardon me, I got somebody at the door. Be right back.
Am I the only one that noticed that his own graphs contradict what he's saying?
Oh, sorry. I wasn't even paying attention to the graphs.
Yeah, he keeps saying that
what
nothing comes before.
did you spot?
He keeps saying that there's nothing before the Precambrian except for single-celled life forms, and the graph that he showed soft-bodied flora.
From the Eukaryotic
or fauna, yeah, before the Precambrian, which is, I mean, is a direct contradiction to what he said. He also said there's no precursors to the body forms in the Precambrian for any of them. And again, the graphs that he's showing keep contradicting that.
Oh, well.
All right, I'm back. It was the dog that was at the door. Thunder and lightning got her attention. But again, when you look at the data points not to a common ancestor, not to precursors in the fossil record that show any kind of common ancestry. No, it shows exactly the opposite. It shows disparity instead of diversity. So, what do you think about that?
Your own graphs contradicted what you said. I mean, clearly. And then the other graphs are taken out of context. And there are obviously precursors to body forms in the Precambrian, not for all of them, but some of them, and that is evidence for evolution.
So you say these things. Do you have anything to back up your belief?
Yeah, one of the first things you said was, I thought we weren't going to interrupt each other.
I thought you were done. You stopped for like 10 seconds.
No, I said, in the beginning, you, and then you started talking. You're lying. So here's the thing. In the beginning, one of the first things you said, one of the first graphs you brought up was the geological column, right? There was an era before the Precambrian. You said nothing before the Precambrian other than single-celled life forms. And while you were talking and saying that, the graph showed an era before the Precambrian with precursor body forms, soft-bodied fauna.
Nah.
So that one's out of context. Go back one more. That one. First skeletal element, soft-bodied. First animal traces.
First skeletal elements.
Yes, elements.
Yes, but there's no precursors. No precursors that can explain all the different phyla in the Cambrian. Not a single precursor. You realize that, right?
Yeah, that's not true.
Okay. Well,
all right, one more time. If you have any questions for Christian Hillbilly, please visit his website at www.christianhillbilly.com, or in order to get immediate attention and immediate satisfaction, call Christian Hillbilly right now, 502-509-7544. Please call him now with any questions whatsoever.
I brought you my evidence. Where's yours?
You brought me a
the
graph.
Evidence shows, instead of showing a gradual bottom-up origin of the basic body plans, or smaller scale diversification or speciation precedes the advent of large-scale morphological disparity. Disparity precedes diversity. Here we go.
Do you have a point?
Right there. This is the common ancestor theory. Would you agree with that?
It's an extremely simplified version.
But it is the theory.
Not exactly.
Does the theory of evolution not state that we have a common ancestor
Yes.
and that all life form originated from that common ancestor?
Does the current theory state that?
Sir, is that not what the neo-Darwinian belief system states?
I don't know what neo-Darwinians say, but the modern science says we have a common ancestor.
Thank you. But see, that's not what science shows us.
Yes, it does.
What the data shows us is that we do not have a common ancestor. Even right back to the Cambrian explosion, all these different phyla, all these different animal groups are there at the very beginning. That's why it's called the Cambrian explosion. Because
right.
it should
The graph
be
that
there.
you showed precursors to Cambrian life forms.
No, sir, they did not.
Yes, it did.
Well, I would love to see your science if
You
that's
just
precursor.
showed a graph that had a Cambrian in an era
That wasn't
before
in
it
there.
with precursor life forms. That's, I
The
mean,
first-
it's your
what we
graph.
have in the-
I don't know if your graph is accurate or not, but it's your graph that you showed that contradicts what you just said.
Sir, I said there was no precursors.
I know you keep saying there's no precursors, but the first graph you showed shows precursors.
No, sir, actually it didn't.
Yes, it did. Go back to your first graph.
No, what it showed is that there are first
Look, Cambrian.
skeletal elements. That's not precursors.
Wait,
Yeah.
Hillbilly, do you not see the organisms right below the Cambrian?
Yes, I sure do. You mean right here?
Yeah.
Skeletal elements means animals with skeletal elements. It means animals before the Cambrian explosion.
But how do you explain them? Because there's no precursors for them. There's nothing.
Well, now
before
you're
the Cambrian,
moving the
there's
goalpost.
nothing but the bacteria. You still haven't explained
You said
how
there's
got
nothing
this
but
quantum
bacteria
leap.
before the
Quantum
Cambrian,
leap
but the
of
graph you're
information.
showing shows that there is.
Those are not bacteria in that picture, Hillbilly.
No,
That graph is accurate at all, Hillbilly, but it's your graph and it contradicts what you're saying. Also, that's out of context. I mean, just because you took parts of the tree of life and put them on a slide doesn't mean that there's no common ancestor.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't. Did you hear what I just said?
Sir?
I just said that just because you can take branches from the tree of life and put them on a slide and not show them connected doesn't mean that they don't have a common ancestor. And you said yes, it does. Are you serious?
Sir? Those branches are not branches.
Yeah, they are.
There is disparity rather than diversity, Seth.
Like, wait, what?
Right? Instead of seeing the diversity of a single organism and that one organism giving you all the diversity of life, the way that the neo-Darwinian belief system states, what you see is something totally different. You see disparity. You see all these different phyla, the different groups that were found in the Cambrian, all separate and unique. And they boom right there on the scene with skeletal systems, nervous systems, compound eyes, reproductive system. I mean, my goodness.
That contradicts with your graph.
How do you explain that? How do you explain it, Seth?
It contradicts with your graph, first of all. Second of all, I explain it by punctuated equilibrium, an era of fast evolution because of. I thought we weren't interrupting each other, Christian Hillbilly.
Go right ahead, sir.
Sure. So when there's higher environmental pressures and niches for things to evolve into, evolution tends to happen faster. This is something that is not that controversial in the literature.
Not science either.
Say it's not science, but that doesn't actually show that it's not science. I thought we weren't going to interrupt each other.
Well, excuse me, I thought I was not done talking. So let's go ahead and point it out that punctuated equilibrium is simply a way for an evolutionist to say, we don't know what the hell happened, but we can't say that this actually points to what the Bible says, that in the beginning God created. We can't say that. So we've got to say anything else that could back up our materialistic, atheistic, evolutionary way of looking at things. I understand it completely, Seth, because there's no science behind it.
I have two responses to that. Number one, do you have any evidence that that's what they're doing? or is it just convenient for you? Number two, yeah, I mean, even if I were to grant you that that's all true, it's still logically possible and a fine explanation for the Precambrian explosion, so it still fits with the data.
No.
I mean, you can get mad about it, but
I'm not mad. I'm just flabbergasted about how people like yourself want to hang on to your ignorance and your belief system, because the Bible tells us that you would rather hang on to your sin. You want to suppress the truth of God in unrighteousness, and that's all it is. Because even though I could bring you a video of God creating everything, you would still deny it.
I may or may not. Depends on the video. But here's the thing: keep talking about punctuated equilibrium and how it's just a reason for scientists to hold on to the materialism. What is punctuated equilibrium, Christian Hillbilly?
That's the belief system that has never been shown to be accurate in any fashion or form. No science behind it whatsoever. Just a theory.
Yeah, but what is it?
Theory. It basically states that because certain things happen to a particular organism based on its location and other stresses, that it could.
All right, everybody. I'm sure by now some of you must have questions for Christian Hillbilly. You can reach him at his website, www.christianhillbilly.com, or for immediate results and satisfaction, do call Christian Hillbilly right now at 502-509-7544. And that I will repeat for you. Please call Hillbilly right now, 502-509-7544. Thank you.
Actually increase in information, increase in complexity. We've never seen that happen. No,
yeah, absolutely correct.
Excuse me, pardon me. Or you asked me, hang on.
I know, and I'm telling you it's incorrect.
Again, pardon me. Again, if you're talking about this punctuated equilibrium, it's something that has never been seen. It is completely a belief system. Seth?
Yes.
Thank you for being quiet.
Oh, no problem.
It's never been seen. It is completely a belief system, not science whatsoever, because it doesn't matter how much an organism has pressure. If it has not information to select from, then it's dead. So the information had to be there to begin with.
Yeah, that's not what punctuated equilibrium is.
No, I mean, Christian Hillbilly was pretty off on his definition of punctuated equilibrium. But I mean, punctuated equilibrium is just, you know, evolution happened relatively quickly.
Well, see, we don't even have any science that evolution ever happened at all, heathen.
Okay, everybody. If you have any questions for Christian Hillbilly, he's just made the statement that we have no evidence that evolution happened at all. But if you do have any questions for him in this respect, do call Christian Hillbilly right away, right now. 502. Get your phones. Get Skype. 502-509-7544. If it's busy, hang up and dial again. I will repeat the number. 502-509-7544 for Christian Hillbilly. Let's continue, shall we?
I mean, you don't.
Not the evolution that you're talking about. Not the increase of information. Not the increase of complexity. Not anything like that. No, we see animals that have a genetic response to stresses in their environment, but that's because they had the information in their genome to choose from to begin with.
So you've never heard of gene duplication and mutation of the gene duplicate?
You're muffled. I can't hear you. You're muffled.
You've never heard of gene duplication before? And mutation.
I don't know what's wrong with your microphone because it's fading in and out.
Seth, can you hear me? I guess
just fine. I can hear you just fine. You're talking about gene duplication. He asked you if you've heard of gene duplication, Christian. Are you looking it up?
It is a straight-up example of increase in information.
No, actually, it's a duplication of information, and you still can't even explain where the information came from that caused it to duplicate itself. Which came first there, heathen? The protein that holds all the proteins together, or the protein that conveys the information about how the protein holds everything together? Which came first?
I don't know that, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. See, the problem is,
you know, the difference between you and
again,
I, I'll
hang on a
admit when I
second.
don't
Hold
know,
on.
you're going to pretend to know, but you don't.
You're trying to deflect. Your deflection is not working.
No, you said that there has never been an increase
that there
in
is no
information.
such thing
I
as
tell you,
punctuated equilibrium. Show me one.
You don't even understand what punctuated equilibrium is.
There's no such thing.
I mean,
there's no such thing.
You've met Christian Hillbilly before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember. I think I've spoken to you before. I don't know if you've been in a room with Christian Hillbilly. I mean, I don't think any of this is a shock to you, is it?
No. But anyway, you know, gene duplication, Hillbilly, it's a duplication. It's an addition of information.
No, sir. There's no new information that comes into the genome. So it is simply, it's a duplication of information. It's not something that it didn't have before.
So I don't like this.
It's not growing arms that it didn't have before. You know, you can have a duplication of information. You can have your genome tell you that you need 3 arms. Is that a good thing? No.
There's like this gene there that wasn't there before.
Right, Christian, hold on a second. Hold on, Dan. I mean, Christian, I don't like the whole CD, DVD drive, blueprint analogy for DNA, but let's use it for example, right? Let's say you have one CD, okay, and I have 2 CDs. Do you have an increase of information or not?
Depends on what information's on the CD now, doesn't it? Now, where'd the information come from?
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does matter. Because if you got
the analogy, no, not unless you don't understand the analogy. The point of the matter is you're saying, hold on, Christian, hold on. You're saying that an increase of information isn't an increase of information, whether or not where the information comes from. Hold on, I thought we weren't going to interrupt each other. I thought we weren't going to interrupt each other, Christian.
You're putting words in my mouth that I didn't say.
Me, but I don't get to interrupt you. I'm just, you're going to kick me out because you're interrupting me.
I'm not going to kick you out. I'm just going to hide you for a second so I can correct what you said. What I said was, sir, is that a duplication of information is not new information. Listen closely. It is not new information in the fact that it's not something that the organism didn't already have at its disposal. So if you're talking about a duplication, oh my gosh, my dog just puked all over the place. Crap.
All right, Billy.
Again, if you're talking about a duplication of information, that's not new information. New information would be growing arms when there were no arms previously. That's new information. Now, duplication of information might be growing a 3rd arm out of your forehead. That's not a good thing, Seth, in the room. So just make sure when you say something that you supposedly think I said, you say it correctly.
Hillbilly, let me put it this way. You have a gene.
I'm going to clean up this mess. I'll be right back. I'm listening, Noah. Puke right next to my chair.
Okay. You have a gene. You know, a duplicate is formed. And then
what a hypocritical fat fuck.
And then mutations occur in that duplicate, changing it. Is that not new information? Where you had 1, now you have 2, and then the duplicate itself is changed. You know, it's kind of like Seth's CD analogy. You know, you have 1 CD, and then you make a duplicate of that CD, and, you know, maybe you make some changes to the duplicate, so it's not exactly the same as the first one.
Right. Even if he wants to grant that doubling the CD space, right, by having 2 CDs isn't an increase in information, the selective pressures on that information would be an increase of information.
I mean, the thing is, like, you know, where you had 1, now you have 2. So, I mean, obviously it's an increase. I mean, even if they stayed identical, but that's not what really happens. You know, what you have is a duplicate and then alteration to that duplicate.
Right, which is why it's completely irrelevant where the information came from in the beginning. If you want to say the information came from God, fine. Then God originated the information. That's still not a problem for evolution. Evolution can work if a God exists. It's not a problem, which is why it's so goddamn frustrating that Christian Hillbilly muted me because he didn't like what I was saying about where the information came from and then disguised it in correcting me, which, again, is still interrupting me, which he said we're not allowed to fucking do.
I mean, you can go the God route, but, I mean, I think at this point the chemistry is understood enough where, you know, they know that these changes happen by means of chemistry, chemical processes, chemical reactions. You know, and this thing that we're calling information, what it really is, it's, complex molecules.
All right, sorry about that. I love the presents the dogs give you. Okay. So are we clear that a duplication of information is not new information?
Yeah, we just cleared up that you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, sir, you still haven't dealt with where the information came from to begin with. But that's another topic. Because we were talking about the Cambrian explosion, I think we've made a clear case that the Cambrian explosion shows definitively that there is no common ancestor, that instead of diversity, we see disparity. And that disparity is very despairing to the evolutionists because they can't explain it. Anyway, on that note, thanks for coming in. Thanks for chatting with me, gentlemen.
What happened? Back to the future? You guys go back to 12 years old?
So y'all have a great day. God bless. I'm going to go ahead and stop the live portion of it. If you like, you can always visit my website at www.christianhillbilly.com. You can send me an email at jim@christianhillbilly.com. And if you'd like to call and
face put onto that picture.
Get prayer or ask specific questions, or if you have any ideas for a show, or if you want to be a guest on the show, hey, I'll even open up to that too. Anyway, feel free to give me a call. The number's on the website. God bless, and have a great day.
Yeah, down. I don't believe that.
Well, if you're not looking, then I'm not going to bother showing it.
That's exactly my
On
point.
pins and needles here.
I don't complain about what you
All
guys
right,
do.
starting live, and welcome
Hey, what did you think
to
about
the
that?
Christian Hillbilly Room.
Yeah, Sydney,
We're going to talk about science. We're going to talk about the Cambrian explosion. And I always like to get started by saying, oh,
Why do
what
you
is
hate me, Rebel?
It's not me that hates you.
Hi, what did I do to you?
It's not me that hates you.
But why do you hate me? I wanna know.
Okay. It's not me that hates you.
What up, heathen?
What up, Outbound?
Yo, how is this picture disturbing though, Rebel?
I'm not looking at the picture, so I can't even answer that question.
Well, just look at the picture. It's like rated G.
Did we all take our medication this morning, gentlemen? I want to make sure everybody took their medication, because Rebel did, and she doesn't want to look at that picture, but she's not complaining that you do.
Look at the picture. It's like Bulldog. Bulldog, go on a line.
Did we all take our
medication? Either with us or you with Goron. You can't have
Rebel did, and she doesn't want to look.
Oh, Goron's channel went down.